as you may know or not know, I mean, I'm sure some of you know a lot of the OECD, maybe some others don't. The way the OECD functions is very much by committees. That means the member countries of the OECD have been setting up committees in almost any field that you could think about. And so they're meeting regularly to discuss on these topics, and the OECD Secretariat is providing intellectual input and also organizing these things. But there has also been a tendency recently to move to networks, and the reason for that is that obviously in these committees, I mean, the participating parties were mainly the representatives of the central governments of the OECD member countries, and then it has been seen that in many areas, I mean, it's very important to also have other stakeholders on board. May that be rather on the local or regional level, or may that be also other forms of stakeholders, as maybe, I mean, river basin management organizations, or as maybe also other networks, basically. And that's one of the reasons why I guess why I'm here, and why also I think there are quite some synergies between this new network on regional or local governance and regulation and these OECD networks. The first one, which is directly in my area of responsibility, is the new network on water governance, which basically is to some degree a result of the last World Water Forum in Marseille, and where the OECD was basically in charge of the field of good governance targets, and where this has been basically given the incentives to basically, or the starting focus of organizing a network of water governance, and which is going to be launched in March of next year. And it will do a couple of things. I mean, firstly, be a platform where water governance guidelines are going to be discussed, and with the aim that basically there's going to be water governance guidelines and principles that will then be adopted by OECD committees, and that's kind of like, well, soft law. It's not hard law, but I mean it's useful, and countries surprisingly often or mostly stick to these guidelines once they say they will. Then also another important part of this network is to be like an observatory of good practices to improve water governance, and that means basically to have a website where all kind of interesting work on water governance will be present, so that if anybody who wants to know something anywhere in the world can just go and see what others have been doing and what may have worked or failed in other places, and so hopefully contribute to better water governance around the globe. Then obviously the network will also be a policy forum where decision makers can meet and discuss, and so it's basically the idea that via dialogue, but also via, I mean, analysis, data collection, and other form of exchanges, then also, I mean, basically the water governance will be improved, and there also it's very important that it's going to be, I mean, policymakers from all different levels of government. So it's basically international, national, regional, local, and also, I mean, river basins, and so, I mean, so that everybody, all the stakeholders will be represented there. Yeah, I think that's the main points, and the idea is, as I was saying, it's not only to have, I mean, directly, I mean, different levels of government in there, but also to have water agencies, non-governmental organizations, international financial institutions, public operators, private operators as well, and also academics, research centers, and networks, and that's where, I mean, where you come in basically. And but also international organizations. So, I mean, the idea is really to have all the stakeholders which are interested to be part of this network. So the membership of the network is going to be open and supposed to be geographically wide. So it's not just a focus on OECD countries, but it's also non-OECD economies. We're saying open. Obviously, I mean, there's basically, I mean, the membership will have to be approved by the network once it's been created, because, I mean, the idea is not to have a network of, you know, you're not going to have reunions with 10,000 people in the room. That's pointless. But I mean, the point is, I said, having to have a diverse as possible membership, and so which kind of like works on these questions, and then, I mean, the rest of the world can in a way profit from that via the dissemination of the network. So the network will meet once a year, and there'll be regional thematic working groups, and as I was saying, there's going to be a web platform, there's going to be newsletters, and so on. The other network, about which I know a little bit less, because this is not directly in my field of command, let's put it this way, is going to be a network on economic regulators. And the idea is, that already, there's obviously quite a lot of networks of economic regulators already, but it's typically that it's like either just regulators of electricity who meet, or it's just regulators of water that meet. And there seems to be, as I'm informed, not really very much going on where regulators from different backgrounds, from different disciplines meet. And so the idea is to basically create such a forum where basically regulatory agencies that are perceived as being like very advanced, basically, top-notch regulatory agencies meet, and they kind of like, try to cross-fertilize them. So in a way, it's, as I understand, it's kind of supposed to be like an elite thing, even if they don't say it, but to me it looks very much like that. And so that they kind of like, see to what degree, regulatory agencies in different fields can cross-fertilize their knowledge. And the idea obviously is, as always, to kind of like, to define what a modern regulatory agency should be doing it, how it should be doing it, how it should be, how the internal governance structures should be, and issues like independence, accountability, horizontal and vertical cooperation, coordination, funding, and then all these kind of issues will be addressed in the framework of that network. Now maybe to what is more relevant, more interesting for you, it's basically what we see as possibilities and synergies and between these networks and the network which is basically created today, as I understand it. Well, the first thing is, the TLSR could be a member of the OECD network of water governance, basically basically, so the OECD network being a member here, so there would be kind of like a reciprocal membership. Then the experts from the TLSR could be invited to OECD events on issues that obviously fit, and could present key findings there, and also vice versa. The OECD can also carry out work on country and sector reviews. It has quite some experience that, and also benchmark that to best practice or some other countries that may be of interest to TLSR. And especially, also the TLSR network may be able to get funding sources to which the OECD itself doesn't have access, being a foundation, basically. So that may also be a possibility. And the OECD can provide a platform for the TLSR to convey key messages to national policymakers, which you basically, the network, being mainly on the local level, I guess you have a better access to local policymakers, and the OECD probably has a better contact base of national policymakers, and the TSLR, could provide the OECD with a series of contacts on the local level, where, as I was saying, where the network here, I think, has a strength. That's what I had to say. So I hope that was short enough. Thanks.